Demetrius Andrade knocks out Willie Nelson in the 12th round. In many ways, this was a masterclass by Demetrius Andrade. He did not lose a round in the entire fight. He dropped Willie Nelson in the first round, dropped him in the 11th round, and dropped him twice in the 12th round, if my short-term memory serves me right. He didn't just out-slick Willie Nelson in this fight, because Willie Nelson is a very strong, extremely big junior middleweight. He comes forward, he's aggressive, he throws a lot of punches. Many fighters, for example, in Erislandy Lara, would have been backpedaling at 100 miles an hour. As I've mentioned before, though, Demetrius Andrade is a bigger, stronger boxer than Erislandy Lara. And he hits harder, and he's also more physical. There's more physicality about him. He's a guy who can fight you on the inside if need be. And we saw that quite a lot here against Willie Nelson. There was moments where he was boxing and moving, and there was also moments where he was pushing Nelson back physically and imposing himself on the inside. It wasn't always pretty. It was maybe a little sloppy at times from Demetrius Andrade. He's not quite as slick as somebody like an Erislandy Lara, but he's in the same type of ballpark. But he showed versatility here. He showed the ability to get down in the trenches and bang it out with a guy if he has to, hurt him. He was working very, very well with body shots, uppercuts, great punch variety, good shots at close range, long range. One of the things that the commentators mention is that he's actually a converted southpaw, or a converted orthodox, depending on which way you want to look at it. So he's not a natural southpaw. His dominant hand is his right hand, and you can kind of see that from his fights, particularly this fight here. He was favoring the right hand more so than the left, but unlike most converted orthodox or converted southpaws, he has good power in that left hand too, that straight left hand. He throws it in a very natural fashion. You know, it's not that obvious that he's converted and not natural at southpaw. So yeah, this was a good performance, didn't lose a round, and closed the show in the end with the 12th round KO. By the 12th round, Willie Nelson had really had enough. You know, he didn't quit or anything like that, but his body language, you could tell that he felt as though there's no way he could win this fight. He tried applying pressure, he tried banging it out on the inside, but nothing was working. Andrade just had far better skills, far more rounded, and you have to say probably had harder, better punching power as well. So yeah, I've always rated Andrade, and I think this was kind of a showcase for him, which would have opened up his skills to the wider public and shown people what he can actually do. So I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of people impressed by this performance. It's Willie Nelson at the end of the day. He wasn't fighting the most skilled guy out there, but nonetheless, Willie Nelson is a very strong man, very tough man, a very awkward guy to fight because of that height. And talking about height as well, they had to tailor the tape before the fight, and they had Andrade listed at 5'11", not 6'1". Now, BoxRec have had Andrade listed at 6'1" for some time, and I think some of his previous fights, prior to some of his previous fights in the tail of the tape, they also had him listed at 6'1". Whereas here they had him listed at 5'11", and looking at the height differential between him and Willie Nelson, I think 5'11" is probably the accurate height. Fighters' heights are often exaggerated, and you often see inaccurate heights listed on BoxRec, and you also see inaccurate heights listed on tail of the tapes prior to fights themselves on these big networks. So they've corrected it. Now, will the fact that he's actually shorter than 6'1", that he's actually more like 5'11", make much of a difference? Well, I think in a Golovkin fight, if he was to fight Golovkin at some stage of his career, I think it would make a difference there, to me anyway. Because thinking he's 6'1", I'm thinking maybe he can stay out of the way of Golovkin, who's only 5'10", 5'11", but this revelation that he's actually only about the same height as Golovkin himself, I think that makes it a lot more difficult for Demetrius Andrade, in my opinion. But nevertheless, this was a good performance over Willie Nelson. Very impressive. Showed variety. He can fight on the outside, fight on the inside, apply pressure, get rough if he has to. Good punch variety, and he closed the show with 2 knockdowns in the 12th. So he showed he can carry his power late in a fight as well. And this fight was fought at a good pace. It's not like it was fought at a snail's pace. So he also showed good stamina, and work rate. And in the times when he did want to rest, that's when he came inside on Willie Nelson and smothered Willie Nelson's work. There was a little bit of holding here and there, but nothing too excessive. But he used that as a defensive tactic, smothering Willie Nelson, not always holding him, but just pushing his body into Willie Nelson so Nelson couldn't get any punches off. It was a very good tactical and, tactical display, good display of skills and what have you. So drop your comments below. Let me know what you felt about this performance in this fight. Where do both fighters go from here? How do you see Demetrius Andrade matching up against the other top guys at 154? I believe Erislandy Lara did beat him in the amateurs. How do you see that fight going in a professional boxing ring over 12 rounds rather than over 3 rounds? How do you see Andrade doing against the Charlo brothers or Liam Smith? Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he beats them all. I think the most difficult, the most dangerous fight out of all of them, well, the most difficult fight out of all of them, I think would be Lara. The Charlo brothers, they got more power than Lara. They're bigger, but I don't know. I'd probably still favor Andrade over both of them, and I'd favor him over Liam Smith. So anyway, let me know you